All right. It's showtime. For a nice payday. Yeah. Cash cow. Beetlejuice released this past weekend in 2024 and is directed by Tim Burton, who is a one-trick pony who hasn't changed his style since the 1980s. And this film is starring Winona Ryder still sporting the same haircut that she did back in 1988, Catherine O'Hara, Jenna Ortega, because, you know, this whole Hot Topic phase is just her, she needs to be in all of it, Justin Theroux, Monica Bellucci sometimes, Willem Dafoe, and of course Michael Keaton returning as the lead role of Beetlejuice. And keeping things similar to the first film, kinda barely in this thing, Lydia Dietz is now a host of a supernatural talk show called Ghost House. And she's just been informed by her stepmother that her stepfather has recently passed away. So Lydia takes her mother and her daughter Astrid back home to the house that we saw in the first Beetlejuice film where they settle the estate. But while there, Astrid stumbles across the ghostly plane and gets into a big mix-up with a teenage boy ghost person who's trying to use her. But then in the world of the dead, the spooky ghost woman who used to be Beetlejuice's wife comes back to dead life and is looking for Beetlejuice to suck out his soul and to kill him. Because according to this universe, once you are dead, there is no coming back. And there are a lot of ghosts in here that become dead when this woman goes around and says, "Where is Beetlejuice?" and they don't answer her. She just sucks their soul right out of their body and then they're dead. Like, there's a special cameo in here from Danny DeVito. And I remember seeing Danny DeVito in the trailer for this movie. Why he's in the trailer for this movie, it has to be for nostalgia, because he's in it for less than 5 minutes. And that's a question I was asking myself a lot about this film. I do feel that this film overall is an improvement from the first one. I've gone on record saying that I'm not a big fan of the original Beetlejuice film. I didn't grow up with it. I have no nostalgia, no attachment to it, so seeing it in my older years, I don't see what all the big fuss is about. And yes, Michael Keaton was good, but he's barely in the first movie, so I don't know why everyone's like, "Oh my god, he's hilarious, he's the best part of the film." While I think this film is an improvement and the story is a little stronger than the first Beetlejuice film, I don't see the reason why we are going back to a sequel with this movie, other than, hey, the first one has such a huge cult following and we're going to get a whole bunch of people to come out to the theater. We're going to get a whole generation of people to go back to the mall and back to Hot Topic to buy all of their goth shit. So yeah, let's do this so we can make money. And I hate how that sounded coming out of my mouth. It sounded very cynical when it came to the movie making business, but that's what this movie is. This is a tool to make money. This wasn't a tool to further along the story and to give you a solid plot that you can sink your teeth into. Because I'm sorry, watching the actors on screen here just go through the motions of acting and going through the blocking and just reciting the dialogue, it doesn't inspire me as an audience member to get into this thing. Monica Bellucci comes in and all she says is, "Where's Beetlejuice?" and then sucks the soul and then walks along. Catherine O'Hara returns, but it also sounds like she's reciting dialogue, which is so sad to me because she's a hilarious comedian and a great actress, and to see her just walk from place to place and not really giving me much through the dialogue, it's sad. And Winona Ryder, again, I've used this word several times already, but is very sad in this movie for me. I've never liked her much as an actress. I think the first time I actually liked her in anything was Stranger Things. Like, she's really good in that series. Her over-the-topness and her trying really hard to act works for that character. Here, though, it was just coming across as sad, and what Tim Burton does with her puts her, he almost treats her like an Elvira character, where she keeps the same hairstyle and the same wardrobe since the 70s and since the 80s. He keeps her in that. But what we see on screen, like, it doesn't look good. It looks very sad. It looks like a woman in her midlife crisis trying to go back to her Hot Topic goth days in high school. Shockingly, the actor who seemed the most natural and the one who didn't seem as weird or trying as hard was Jenna Ortega. I definitely understand why she is in so many things now. Like, society is trying to push Jenna Ortega onto itself, which makes sense because she's a great actress. I've loved her in everything that she's done. Here, she's very naturalistic. Like, I care for her. I care about that character. Her character is a bit of a dumbass, but I care for that character. And of course, Michael Keaton returns. This is the big marketing bit of this movie, is that Tim Burton and Michael Keaton are returning to their main roles that made them very popular and very big in the 1980s. And Michael Keaton, you can tell, is having a blast. He is having a ton of fun. And actually, his interpretation of Beetlejuice this time around reminds me more of the cartoon version of Beetlejuice, where he's a little heavier set and he has a ton of play on words constantly, and it seems like he's having a lot of fun. But it just seems like we are rinsing and repeating and just remaking the first Beetlejuice film, taking all the beats from that movie and plugging them into this one. Tim Burton, to me, in my opinion as a viewer, as an audience member, is not inspired anymore. He just does the same old shtick over and over and over again, hoping that audiences would accept it as they did in the late 80s and early 90s. You gotta change up your style. I'm sorry. Either you gotta give it up or you gotta do something different, because you're pigeonholing yourself into this one style, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore, dude. If you grew up with the first Beetlejuice film, you will probably love this movie, and you will have a lot of fun with this film. You'll see all the nostalgia bits and all of the callbacks that they have in this movie reminding you, oh yeah, that's from that scene from the first movie. Or hey, this whole setup and this wedding thing that we're going to, oh, that reminds me of the very first movie too. How original. And I do appreciate that they didn't bring the actor back to portray the stepfather again, just because he's been found to be a pedophile. It is weird, though, that his character dies in this movie, and as he's being lowered into the ground, he does have a church choir of young little children singing Deo, Deo as he's lowered into the ground. Just, you know, in real life, the pedophile is being put to rest by the children of the church choir. You can either find that tasteless and creepy, or you can find just a lot of hilarity with it as the kids are getting their paybacks towards this creep that's being lowered into the ground. That's a little political side of this review. Sorry about that. I think we should just end this thing because, you know, the movie is just, it's fine. It's fine for those that enjoy it. For me, yeah, it was a fine watch. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't awful in any way. I just kept asking myself, why are we doing this? I don't see any point in coming back to this world. I'm going to give Beetlejuice Beetlejuice 2.5 out of 5 Blu-rays.
I found that if you have a goal, that you might not reach it. But if you don't have one, then you are never disappointed. And I gotta tell you, it feels phenomenal.
So guys, if you've seen Beetlejuice, what did you think about it? Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the original or this brand new sequel? Whatever you thought, comment below and let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so you'll know the next time I'm releasing my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.